All right, this is part 2 for our scientific notation lessons. This lesson is going to cover how to multiply and divide when given numbers in scientific notation, and then how to add and subtract numbers with scientific notation. I'll give you strategies for doing it without a calculator, and then any of these can be done with a calculator. Let's close the blinds real quick. That's a little bit better for the lighting. And let's go ahead and bring the dot cam. All right. So first thing we're going to have is how to multiply and divide numbers using scientific notation. Now, the first thing with all of these problems is if you have a scientific calculator, you can punch these numbers right into the calculator and it will solve it for you. You may just have to then move it from standard to scientific notation. There is a scientific calculator on your Clever page, so you could use that link if you liked. If we're going to look at this problem here, 2.4 times 10 to the 4th times 3 times 10 to the 6th. If we're going to do it without a calculator, the way in which we're going to multiply with scientific notation is I'm going to take the base portion of the scientific notation number, the 2.4 times the 3, and I'm going to multiply those. And then I'm going to take the power of 10, and I'm going to multiply those. Well, this is significant because this is going to use our exponent rules from prior learning. This one here, I'm going to take 2.4 and times it by 3. Well, 2.4 times 3 is going to make 7.2. And now with this here, I have multiplication with the same base. 10 to the 4th power means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10 to the 6th power . So if you remember from our exponent rules, I'm going to add those two powers because I have 4 10s here and 6 10s here. So this is going to be times 10 to the 10th power. So to multiply in scientific notation, I'm simply going to pull the numbers that are in the front and multiply them. And I'm going to take the powers of 10 and multiply them. And then I'm going to use my exponent rules to complete it. This answer is in scientific notation, so this is done. Now again, if we had a calculator, I would put that into the calculator and let the calculator do the work for me. So what I'd like you to do now is pause the video and try this example. Now be careful with this example because you're going to have negative exponents in here and something is going to happen unique at the end. So pause the video and solve this one on your own. All right, now that we're back, let's go through this and see how you did. We're going to start by taking the 5.2 and multiplying it by the 3. And then I'm going to take the 10 to the negative 3rd and times it by 10 to the negative 4th. When I multiply 5.2 times 3, I'm going to get 15.6. Now pay very close attention to that. This is not going to be correct for scientific notation. So I'm going to have to move the decimal at the end. Well, let's take this here. 10 to the negative 3rd and 10 to the negative 4th is the same base. So the rule when I have the same base is I combine exponents. So this becomes times 10 to the negative 7. Now, unlike the first example up here, the decimal for this answer is in the wrong place. So I still have to move it one more time for it to be in scientific notation. So 15.6 is going to become a 1.56 times 10 to the negative 6th power. And you might ask why it becomes negative 6. It's because it used to be negative 7. But when I moved the decimal, I have to go up or increase by 1. So -7, when I increase it by 1, becomes -6. So let's take a look at how we would divide with scientific notation. We're going to use the same basic idea as we do with multiplication, except it's division. So I'm going to take 7.2 and 2.4 and separate that from the powers of 10. Well, 7.2 divided by 2.4, we can work that out, or you can put that in your calculator. That's going to be 3. And then we have same base, but we're dividing. So we might go back to our power, our exponent notes, and if I have the same base with division, I subtract my exponent. So this is 10 to the -5th power, subtract the 8, because I have to subtract the exponents. Well, this, using integer rules, means times 10 to the -13th power. This 3 is larger than 1 and less than 10, so this answer is in scientific notation. So I separate it into 2 parts. I take the 7.2 and the 2.4 and divide that. And then I take the powers of 10 and I use my exponent rules from prior learning. Let's go ahead and try an example now. So let's put this in as our example. So this one, again, like our previous example that you worked on your own, is going to require you to do a little bit of work at the end. So go ahead and pause the video here and try and do this division with scientific notation. Now that we're back, let's take a look and see how you did. So I'm going to go ahead and move this example up here. We're going to separate it into 3.6 over 7.2. And then we're going to go 10 to the 11th over 10 to the 5th. If we divide this manually, great. If you use a calculator, that's fine. 3.6 divided by 7.2 is going to become 0.5. And then 10 to the 11th over 10 to the 5th, I'm going to subtract. So that becomes 10 to the 6th power. Now the key with this one, just like our last example that you tried, is this is not in scientific notation. 5 is less than 1. So I have to move the decimal 1 time to get it into scientific notation. Now this was less than 1, so that means my exponent has to become less by 1. So 10 to the 6th is going to become 10 to the 5th power. So this is multiplication and division with scientific notation. Well, let's take a look at the final piece here, which is going to be addition and subtraction using scientific notation. Now, just like multiplying and dividing, if I was to put this in a calculator using parentheses, the calculator, if it's a scientific calculator, can solve it for me. You have to be very careful when you do this. But we may not always have a calculator, so we need to be able to do it manually. The best and easiest way to add and subtract when scientific notation is to convert these numbers back to standard notation and then line them up. So 3.5 times 10 to the 8th, I'm going to put that back as standard notation, which means I'm going to move the decimal 8 times. So this is going to become 3.5 followed by 7 zeros. It's 7 zeros because I move it once around the 5, and then I need to move it 7 more times around the zeros. And then I'm going to add 4.2 times 10 to the 6th. So I'm going to need to move that decimal a total of 6 times. Once around the 2, and then 5 zeros. Now, once I have written these in standard notation, the best way is then to just stack them on top of each other. So 3, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. plus 4, 2 with 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 2. Remember, when we add or subtract, we line everything up to the right. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0, 0 plus 0, 0 plus 2, 0 plus 4. Bring down the 5 and the 3. And I have 354,200,000. So you're going to simply expand out into standard notation and then line them up. So I would like you to go ahead and try this second problem as your example. Now this one is just subtraction, so just be very careful because the subtraction is going to require you to do some borrowing. So go ahead and pause the video now, expand these out into standard notation, and then subtract. All right, now that we're back, let's see how you did. 8.5 times 10 to the 8th, we're going to move it around the 5, and then 7 zeros. 8, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. We're going to subtract 7.7 times 10 to the 6th, so I'm going to move it around the 7, and then 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 7. Line them up. Now be very careful here. I'm subtracting. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 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 7 we cannot do, so do not write that as 7. We're going to have to borrow. Well, what I'm doing then is I'm going to go to the 5, turn the 5 into a 4. That becomes 10. I then borrow from the 10, which becomes 9, and that becomes 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 8 minus 0 is 8. And I'll add my commas. And I get 842,300,000. So the key to addition and subtraction is to simply turn them into regular standard notation numbers and then use your addition and subtraction skills from way back in the day. All right, so we're going to stop sharing there. The homework that goes along with this video is going to be IXL, section G. Multiplying and dividing is numbers 4 and 5. Addition, subtraction is number 3. Again, that's IXL, 8G. 4, 5, and then 3 is the final section. I hope that this is helpful and useful for you. Remember, go back and watch this lesson as many times as you need to in order to be successful. Take care. Have a great day.